Hello guys, my name is Guillaume and welcome to this new episode of Hit the Tone. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing fantastic today and welcome to this new episode of Hit the Tone on Thomann's Guitars and Basses. If you're new around here, what I do is take legendary guitar riffs and try to give you all the tools you need to hit the tone. I've already covered a ton of songs, they're all linked in the description box down below, but if I haven't covered your favorite, please do let me know in the comment section and I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. And while you're down there, if you can consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, that would be incredible. Thank you so very much in advance. And with that said, let's start with today's song, which is Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. Seven Nation Army is undoubtedly one of the most popular songs in rock history, period. There's such a myth around all of it, and whether it was at the release and then the video clip and then just the momentum it gathered through that intro masterpiece, like it's in all its simplicity, but it's really complex at the same time. There is so much going on, so I'm gonna try and make that a little bit clearer for you guys. Starting with the guitar for the day, which is gonna be this Gibson Les Paul. I'm gonna be in the bridge position with a humbucker pickup. Now, this is super far off from what Jack White originally used, which is a semi-hollow 50s guitar. The point is, there is that semi-hollow sound to it that's a very distinct characteristic, but I wouldn't say that this is the primary, the most forward element there's going to be to that sound. So I would say as long as you have a humbucker-equipped guitar, and even better so if you have a hollow body guitar or jazz box or something like that, that's definitely in the right ballpark. I don't have any of these today, I only have that guitar and I think it's going to do just fine. So I'm going to keep using it and go on to the amp and pedal setup. And that's when things start to get a little bit more complicated because Jack White's setup is really out of the ordinary. He's using, I think, a Sears Silvertone head on a 6x10 cabinet, so it's really far off from the kind of response you get with your, Les Paul into a Marshall kind of setup. Nothing wrong with that, but vastly different sound. These amps are not commercially available right now, so I'm going to be using my do-it-all kind of a thing, this Fender Deluxe Reverb amp. Great pedal platform as well, and that's really handy because we're going to be using some. There's a lot of misconception around the intro riff, saying that it's been tracked with a bass and then pan stereo with some like dirty guitar kind of a thing. But it's actually the guitar, and Jack White is using a whammy with an octave down, basically a whammy pedal to go down to that almost bass kind of sound. And the second pedal that's in action here is a Big Muff Pi fuzz. Now, this is very tricky. If you do have a Big Muff pedal, either Big Muff Pi or any of the newer renditions by Electro Harmonix, you might be lucky and get there, but it's going to react vastly differently depending on which amp you're using. And the fact that he's running that through that Silvertone with the 6x10 cab makes a massive difference as to how the fuzz kind of works and almost sounds like just an overdrive in the end. So I didn't really get lucky by using a fuzz here. That's why I went with this Wampler Pantheon overdrive, which is a mid-gain, right now in kind of a mid-gain kind of situation. And I think that brings you closer to that recorded final sound that Jack White has on that song. And it's going to be on all the time. You want that grit when you pick on the intro as well. So I'm going to turn on both pedals right now, play the intro, and then turn the octave off to play the chorus riff. Now again, it's a really, really tricky kind of setup because of the interaction between his pedals, the hollow bodiness of his guitar and the amp. But I'm really, really happy with that result. I'm gonna stick with it and we're gonna go on to the final part of that video, which as usual is the most important and is how to play the song. And quick reminder before we get into it, there will be links in the description box down below that'll take you to all the gear that I'm using today, a bunch of different recommendations at other price points, as well as the tabs to play the song. And the first thing that you have to keep in mind for that song is it's not in standard tuning, it's in open A, so you're gonna have E, A, C sharp, E, and that's basically a big, beautiful A major chord if you pick all the strings. And that's gonna come in really handy because it's gonna make chording with a slide a lot easier. And that's something that people often tend to forget about that song, is actually played with a slide. Not the intro, obviously, but the chorus part of it. So let's start by having a look at the fretting part of the riff. And because of the techniques that are involved in mostly the slide, it's actually a riff that's a lot harder to pull off cleanly than it looks. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is a beginner riff. And for the intro part, I guess so, because it's not really fast and you're mostly just picking single notes on a single string, which is fairly simple. But because of the effects that are involved and because of the transition in between that playing to the chord, to open strings, to sliding, there's actually quite a few different steps to get that song right, which I think makes it really, really interesting. But yeah, the main difficulty here is mostly going to be about the slide and trying to keep that relatively clean. You don't want the cleanest slide playing because Jack White here doesn't... It's not really precision work. It's really rock and roll, really visceral. So you don't want to, over accurate your slide playing in there, but it needs to be clean enough so that every note resonates properly and just sounds right. But with that said, let's have a look at the picking side of it. Nothing much to say on that part of the riff, really. It's mostly going to be just about control, making sure that everything rings clearly, and maybe you want to pay attention to that crescendo that you're going to have on the G and A chords just before going into the chorus, because that really adds up to the riff, I think, and just the progression of it. But with that said, I think that's it, guys. You have all the tools you need to hit the tone on Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. As usual, I really hope that you enjoyed that video. I hope you had fun learning it. Maybe you've learned a thing or two, and if so, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss out on the next ones. Don't forget to let me know in the comments which song you'd like to see here next, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But in the meantime, I wish you all a fantastic week, and I'll see you next Monday in a new episode of Hit the Tone.